Hello viewers, welcome to Kids Auto and Truck Repair. Today we have a 2013 Toyota Corolla with a
1.8 engine.
With a 1.8 liter engine. I have my friend here, my friend Ara. Ara is one of my subscribers here on YouTube. He's actually a fellow mechanic. Yes. He works on cars. He works at a different shop. They have been dealing with his car for a couple of days. He saw me on YouTube. He reached out and he asked if I could help fix the problem on this vehicle. We exchanged contact informations via emails. He actually doesn't live far from our shop. He's in Germantown.
Germantown, yes.
Right? So I told him to bring his vehicle to our shop so we can all fix it together. So Era, can you tell us a little bit how you found us?
Okay, I find the Big Boss Dio on the YouTube. When I searching something on the YouTube, I watch it to see how it's going on. And then I click on the video, you see the Big Boss Dio is coming on the video, and I have to follow up. So what he's explaining, what he's doing. So I say everything is fine. I say keep my mind, let me follow up, and then going to find his email and contact with him, and then come to back and visit him, stand the process together.
Awesome, thank you. Thank you for being here. So you saw the videos and you saw how I was explaining things in the video.
Yes.
Then you were like, okay, I need to go to this guy. Thank you, brother. Thank you for being here.
Anytime.
I'm glad you came. So Era, like you guys heard, he found me on YouTube and he liked the way I explained things. He reached out and then he came to me so that we can work on this together. I said, no problem. Bring the vehicle to the shop and then we can both work on it. So this vehicle has a lean code. The check engine light is on. There are a couple codes in the engine computer. I'm going to start the engine. I'm going to show you the check engine light that's remaining on the dash. And then we're going to scan the engine computer to see what codes we have. I already scanned it off camera. I already know the codes, but I'm going to scan it again so I can show you the codes. And then we're going to talk about what directions we're going to go so we can fix whatever that's causing this check engine light to remain on the dash. And then I'm going to show you the parts that were replaced on this vehicle. And you said that this vehicle was at a different shop.
Yes.
They replaced the mass airflow sensor.
Sensor and air filter.
And the air filter.
Still the same problem.
And the problem was still there.
Yes.
Okay. And then
after weeks, I do the smoke test. I see that somewhere air vacuum is leaking. I replace the air vacuum, the hose.
Okay.
But still the same problem. Still the code is coming.
Okay.
The same thing.
The same code is coming back.
Yes.
So basically, just to bring you guys up to speed, this vehicle was at a shop. The mass airflow sensor was replaced. The air filter was replaced. This was done at a different shop.
Yes.
And then the customer brought it to your shop with the same code and check engine light.
Correct.
You did the smoke test. You found a leak. One hose was leaking. You replaced the hose.
Yes.
And the cord is still there.
Still there.
Check engine light is still there. So let's see if we can fix it together. I'm going to take you with me in the vehicle so we can confirm the customer's complaint first. I'm going to start the engine so we can confirm the customer's complaint. As you can hear, the engine is running and the check engine light remained on. So right there, check engine light is on. So customer's complaint confirmed. So now I'm going to turn off the engine so we can get the scan tool connected to the vehicle. I'm going to turn the key on. I'm going to get the scan tool connected and then I'll bring you guys back up. I got the scan tool connected to the vehicle. I'm going to bring it up. So let's go to scanner. The scan tool has identified the vehicle, 2013 Toyota Corolla. Let's do a code scan. Let's scan all the control units on the vehicle and see what we got. So right off the bat, we have 4 trouble codes in the engine computer. Our first trouble code is P0171. It says system 2 lean bank 1. And then the second code is P1603, engine stall history. The third one is P1604, start ability malfunction. And then the last one is P1605 Rough idling. So right there we have 4 trouble codes in the engine computer. Now, while the scan tool is scanning all the control units, What I'm gonna do is, as we diagnose this, I'm gonna focus on this lean code, because this lean code can cause the engine to stall. The lean code will also cause the engine to run rough. So let's scroll down and see what else we have. We have the same codes here in history codes. We got misfire codes. That's interesting. We have the same codes in the transmission control unit. This is because the TCM is part of the ECM. Okay, and on the generic side of the tool, we just have one code, P0171, System 2 Lean Bank 1. So this is the code that I'm gonna focus on. And I'm pretty sure this code is what's causing these other codes to be set as well. These misfire codes. Now, we don't have to look up this code because I'm very familiar with this. When an engine runs lean, that means the engine is running with more air and less fuel. So the air-fuel mixture in the engine is now well balanced. And that can be caused by a couple of things. It can be caused by a vacuum leak. It can be caused by a low fuel pressure or a mass airflow sensor that's under-reporting to the engine computer. So now what I'm gonna do is we're gonna go in the engine computer and look at our data. Actually, before we do that, let's go to freeze frame first. I want to look at my freeze frame data and see what data the computer was looking at when this trouble code set. Did this lean code set at idle or at higher RPM? Because that will give me an indication of what type of lean code we have or lean condition we have. Here's our freeze frame. When this trouble code set, our engine speed was 2260, and then our engine temperature was 179. Now I want to look at, so this code set at high RPMs, okay? Now I want to look at my fuel trim numbers. Okay, so here are my fuel trim numbers. So short term, when this trouble code set, short term was 00, and then long term was 35%. Now, since this code set when the engine RPM was high, it means based on these numbers here, I can tell that we are not dealing with a vacuum leak, okay? And then my friend Ara said that he already did a smoke test, so we're not dealing with a vacuum leak here. Our problem is most likely a fuel pressure problem. We probably have a low fuel pressure issue here because our at high RPM, 2200, so 2260 RPMs, so our engine was hot. We were pretty much at operating temperature, and our long-term fuel trim is 35%. So right here, this speed over here, 35%, okay? So now what I'm gonna do is, to confirm what I just said, we're gonna go to data, and then we're gonna start the engine and watch the data. So let's go to generic functions. Let me see if I can look at the data from this angle here. So I can look at the data here. So let's see. Engine data. We might have to go to the generic side of the tool. I want to look at my long-term and short-term fuel trim data PIDs. Okay, long-term. Where is short term? So here's short term. So we're gonna customize this list. We're gonna grab our engine speed, mass airflow sensor PID, engine temperature. short term and long term, O2 sensor data PIDs. Fuel system status. Alright, so that's it. We're gonna list these PIDs. Now I'm gonna start the engine. I want you guys to watch our short-term and long-term fuel trim data PIDs. So the engine is running. We are in open loop right now. We just went on closed loop. Right now at idle, our short-term is minus 6%, and then our long-term is positive 22%. Okay? Don't really mind the numbers after the point. So right now our short term is minus 0.2, minus 1, and then our long term is high. So now I'm gonna increase the engine RPMs. I'm also gonna graph our second O2 sensor. So this O2 sensor after the cat. Okay, so I'm gonna increase the engine RPMs. As I increase the engine RPMs, if we have a vacuum leak, our numbers will get better when the engine RPM goes up. Once we go past idle speed, if our long-term and short-term fuel trim numbers get better, that means we have a vacuum leak. But if our long-term and short-term and long-term fuel trim numbers don't get better at higher RPMs, then our problem could be a fuel pressure problem. Now you might ask, what's a good number? A good number is plus or minus 10% short-term plus long-term. Okay, so right now our total trim is 22 over here on the long-term, plus the 2.3 or 1.5%. So right now our total trim is about 23%, which is higher than the normal range, because the normal range is plus or minus 10% total trim, long term plus short term. So now I'm gonna increase the engine RPMs. Let's see if these numbers should get better. These numbers together should be at plus or minus 10%. So right now our numbers at idle don't look good. Okay, so now I'm gonna increase the engine RPMs. So we have 34,000 RPMs. Our long term is now 19.5%. Our short term is going between 0 and 1. So our numbers are still high. Okay, so we still have 20%. Even if we have -1 or -2 on the short term, if we take the -1 or -2 that we are seeing over here on the short term, if we take it, like right now we have -1.5. If we take the -1.5 that I just saw here out of the 20%, we will still have about 18% on the short term, on the long term. Okay, so that means the computer is still trying to add more fuel so that this engine can run better. Now, as I'm increasing the engine RPMs, our O2 sensor after the cat is showing a rich mixture. Okay, this is 0.8 millivolt, which kind of tells me that we probably don't have a fuel delivery problem. But this code sometimes can be, this reading over here on the O2 sensor can be misleading sometimes. So right now our total trim is about 23%. Okay, so this is not right. Something is happening. Our fuel trim numbers are not getting better even if we increase the engine speed. So I'm gonna let off. Watch this. So I let off. We still have high numbers on the long term. our short-term numbers are not changing as much. So we have 3% on the short term, 23% on the long term. So our total trim is about 26%. So that's high. Now I'm gonna pump the brakes. I'm gonna try to create a lean condition. Let's see if this is gonna change anything. So right now, I'm pumping the brakes. I'm trying to create a lean condition. And this can also be caused by a bad O2 sensor. So I'm pumping the brakes. Let's see if our O2 sensor is gonna go lean. So right now our O2 sensor went lean, okay? And you can see our fuel trim numbers got even worse. Right now we have positive 20% on the short term and then positive 44% on the long term. So we are running super lean right now because I'm pumping the brakes. And this is a good test you can do to test your O2 sensors, to test how quickly the O2 sensors are responding. And as you can see, our O2 sensors are responding. So we most likely don't have an O2 sensor problem because they are all responding when I'm driving the engine lean. I'm forcing the engine lean by pumping the brake pedal, okay? Now when I increase the engine RPMs, our long-term number is still high. Okay, so now let's go under the hood and do some tests. Now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna turn off the engine. Okay, so we have reached operating temperature. I'm gonna turn off the engine. I'm gonna go under the hood and do a fuel pressure test. Let's connect a fuel gauge to the fuel system and test a fuel pressure, because these numbers tell me that we most likely have a fuel pressure problem. So let's go under the hood and do a fuel pressure test. We got the engine cover removed. I'm gonna show you the components that were replaced on this engine. So my friend Ara replaced this hose, which was leaking before. And you replaced this after doing a vacuum test, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So this was replaced, and then the other shop replaced the mass airflow sensor. As you can see, the mass airflow sensor is new. They also replaced the filter. So now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna tap into this fuel pressure hose over here, and then we're gonna start the engine to see what kind of fuel pressure we have. So I'm going to disconnect this. Perfect. So we're gonna remove the air filter box. You can go ahead and remove that. Yeah, thank you. Let's get the air filter out of the way. Perfect. So here is our fuel line. You can go ahead and disconnect that. Perfect. Okay, so we got our fuel line disconnected. So now I'm gonna tee into this line with a fuel pressure gauge. We're gonna use this fuel pressure gauge. So let's tee into that. Perfect. So we're connected there. Okay, and then this end over here is gonna be connected over here. Can you connect that end? Yeah. There. Perfect. Okay, so this end is connected. So what we did, I hope you guys are following along. Hold on. Just give me a minute, please. I'm gonna show everyone what we're doing. So we're connecting our, sorry for the glare, guys. So we are connecting our fuel pressure gauge to the fuel line. So we just teed into the fuel supply line that goes to the fuel rail. Okay, so we're good. So now we can put our gauge up here. So you can go ahead and install our fuel filter. Now we're gonna reinstall the fuel filter, and then we're gonna start the engine. Perfect. Okay,
here.
Nice. Good.
Now we start the
Okay. Yeah, I'm gonna watch the gauge. Okay, turn the key on first. Cycle the key.
keys on.
Key is on. Our gauge didn't move, so that's not a good sign. Cycle the key again. Let's make sure we're not leaking fuel down there. Okay, there's no fuel. There's no fuel leak down here.
Keys on.
Okay. Hold on. Let me wear my glasses. Let me put my glasses on. All right.
Okay.
So cycle the key again one more time. On and off. Okay.
On.
All right. Go ahead and start the engine. There's the problem. There's your problem, lady. So here, the engine is running and our fuel pressure is about 29 psi. Now, can you rev it? So this is the problem, guys. Low fuel pressure. So this is what's causing the lean condition.
Run up.
No, just keep it running. You can go, can you go in the car and just rev it a little bit, please? I want to watch this fuel pressure as you rev up the engine. Rev it. Rev it. Rev it. All right, that's good. Turn it off. So what's happening is when you rev it, our fuel pressure drops to about 25 psi, which shouldn't happen because this gauge shouldn't drop. Okay?
Yeah.
So you have a low fuel pressure problem, my friend.
So looks like you have to replace the full pump is no good.
Yes, you gotta replace the fuel pump. Can you go ahead and start it again? So we have found the problem. This is the problem, guys. Okay. I don't know if you guys saw the fuel gauge dip a little bit. Actually, can you do that one more time? Turn it off and start it again. The fuel gauge drops a little bit and then it goes back up. Start it. Yeah, so right there. So our fuel pressure is lower than normal. So go ahead and turn it off. Leave the key on. Okay, leave the key on. I'm gonna look up the fuel pressure spec. We can look it up on the scan tool here. Let's look up the spec. I'm sure we might have a question from one of our viewers here about the fuel pressure. So what I'm going to do is let's back out. Let's go to guided component test 1.8. Let's click OK. Let's go to engine, fuel system, fuel pressure. So right here. So the fuel pressure, use suitable adapter, connect 100 psi transducer to injector fuel rail or fuel filter if equipped outlet. Okay, so what's the pressure? Right here, my friend. So it says during cranking and while idling, fuel pressure should be about 44 to 50 psi. If pressure is high, suspect defective pressure regulator. So as you can see, the spec is between 44 to 50 psi. So what do we have right now?
20.
We have about 29 psi. So we have a low fuel pressure problem, guys. Okay, so our spec is between 44 psi and 50 psi. That's what it says here while the engine is idling, but right now we have 29 psi. So that's the problem. Okay, so now let's wrap up this video. We have found the issue. All right, guys, so we're gonna leave this right over here. This was a pretty quick one. Era?
Very quick one and very shortly define the problem.
Yes.
I like that's the video. I like that's the testing. Everything perfect and nice.
Yeah.
any problems is a very hard problems, electric issues or other problems, so you can come in direct to Mr. Dio, the big boss. He's to figure out everything,
Yeah.
and he fix it for you. Everything is complete.
Oh, thank you. Thank you for saying that. So this didn't take long. This ended up being a low fuel pressure problem. So Era is going to take the car to his shop.
Yes.
He's going to replace the fuel
Full
pump. Get the OEM pump though.
OEM or aftermarket, which one you recommended?
OEM always.
OEM.
Always OEM. Get an OEM pump and you should be good.
We've done the problem.
Yes. So we're going to leave this right over here. Once again, my friend Era, thank you for coming.
Thank you for coming. You will find it for you on the YouTube.
Yes.
The first time I'm meeting for you, which is a very nice meeting.
Mm-hmm.
I never see my life the meeting person like that, doing the test in the same time in his location.
Oh, really?
Yes.
That's
you for
good.
everything.
Thank you. Well, we're going to leave this right over here. I hope you guys like the video. If you like the video, give it a thumbs up. If you don't like the video, give it a thumb down. But if you do, you got to tell me why so we can make better videos in the future. If this is your first time here, subscribe to the channel. Ring the bell so you can get notified every time I upload a new video. If you have any comments, questions, criticism, leave them in the comment box. If you have a vehicle you're dealing with and you don't live far away from me, bring it here. Maybe we can diagnose it together. Thanks for watching. See you next time.
Bye-bye.